The darkness of the night was an oppressive blanket draped over the forest, every flicker of movement and sound amplified by the silence. In the heart of this desolate wilderness, a lone human girl, her name lost to the immediate urgency of her situation, sprinted through the underbrush with desperate speed. Her breath came in ragged gasps, the harshness of the night air cutting into her lungs as she navigated the rough terrain. Ahead, figures began to materialize from the shadows, their forms distorted and menacing under the pale moonlight. They closed in around her with frightening synchrony, their movements deliberate and predatory. The girl's heart pounded like a drumroll in her chest, each beat echoing in her ears like a dire warning. She turned sharply, her hand fumbling for a weapon, but there was none to be found, nothing but the forest and the lurking danger it harbored. From behind a twisted oak tree, a voice cut through the tension, sharp and commanding. "Stop where you are," it hissed, the words slicing through the night air like a blade. The girl halted abruptly, her body trembling with fear and adrenaline. "Who are you?" she demanded, turning to face the voice, hoping that defiance would distract from her vulnerability. Her eyes scanned the darkness, trying to discern who or what could possibly be out there. "No need for bravado," the figure replied, stepping into view. "You're a woman, if one could call it that, standing tall and imposing even in the dim light." Her skin shimmered with an unnatural sheen, scales catching the moonlight like metal under a torch. The girl's breath caught in her throat. This was no ordinary being. "Who are you?" the girl repeated, her voice steadier now, laced with caution. "I am your only hope of survival," the dragon woman answered, a hint of amusement in her voice, as if there were some great joke playing out just beyond the human's understanding. "You are in grave danger from those who follow." The figures pressing in around the girl suddenly froze, as if listening to an unspoken command. The dragon woman took a step forward, and a chill radiated outward with her movement. "Tell me your name," she said, her tone now softer but no less commanding. "I cannot protect what I do not know." The girl hesitated, her mind racing. She needed to trust this creature, at least find some way out of this nightmare. "Lila," she finally said, offering the name up as a fragile bridge between them. "Very well, Lila. Come with me now, or you will face certain death." Before Lila could protest, a low growl echoed from behind her, and she whirled around to see one of the shadowy figures lunging toward her. Her eyes widened in terror, and she barely had time to register the dragon woman's swift intervention. With a flick of her wrist, a burst of blue energy erupted, sending the attacker flying into the underbrush. The impact sent leaves and debris scattering everywhere, illuminating the forest floor for just a moment before darkness reclaimed it. "You have no choice," the dragon woman repeated, her voice carrying an unmissable edge of authority. "This way." Lila's survival instincts kicked in once more, overriding any lingering doubts. She turned to follow, not daring to look back at the creatures closing in. Forest seemed to close around them like a living entity, its branches reaching out as if to snare them. But the dragon woman moved with an unnatural grace, her pace relentless and sure. "Who are you?" Lila asked again, needing to understand who this strange protector was. "I am the chief of the dragon clan," the woman replied without breaking stride, "and I have come to offer you safe passage home." The revelation hit Lila like a physical blow. A dragon? But that wasn't possible. Dragons were nothing but myths and legends in her world. Yet here she was, running for her life alongside one. The sheer impossibility of it all threatened to overwhelm her. "Where do dragons come from?" she blurted out, unable to stop the words once they started. "The same place as all living things," the dragon woman replied enigmatically, "though I am afraid that is a long story for another time." Lila's heart pounded in her chest, her mind grappling with the fantastical turn of events. The urgency of their situation demanded every ounce of focus she could muster, leaving no room for disbelief. They pushed deeper into the forest, the tension growing thicker with each step. Lila's eyes, scanned the surrounding darkness, the threat palpable even as they moved. "How far is it to safety?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady despite the fear bubbling up inside her. "Not far now," the dragon woman assured her, though her expression remained unreadable. "But we must hurry." The forest seemed to close in around them even tighter, branches and vines reaching out like grasping hands. Lila's fear spiked anew with every step, the danger tangible and ever-present. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to go terribly wrong. "Are you sure there's no other way?" she asked, her voice small against the pressing darkness. "There is never another way," the dragon woman replied, though there was a flicker of something in her eye, something Lila couldn't quite place. "Trust me." Lila swallowed hard, nodding without conviction. She had no choice but to believe, even as the shadows seemed to whisper secrets of their own. Up ahead, the trees began to thin, and the moonlight grew brighter, revealing a narrow path that cut through the forest. The dragon woman's pace quickened, and Lila struggled to keep up. As they emerged from the cover of the woods into a clearing, the landscape transformed before their. A river flowed nearby, its surface shimmering with an almost magical glow. "Stay close," the dragon woman commanded, her voice holding an undercurrent of urgency. Lila nodded, trying to push aside the panic that threatened to consume her. The dragon woman led them to the water's edge, and as they approached, Lila saw something that sent her heart racing. A shimmering portal hovering just above the river's surface. It pulsed with a strange, otherworldly energy, pulling them in like a magnet. "This is your way home," the dragon woman explained as they neared. "Jump now, and it will take you to safety." Lila's mind reeled. The portal seemed like a beacon of hope, yet it was also an unknown and terrifying prospect. The dragon woman watched her closely, her eyes steady and unyielding. "Are you ready?" she asked, voice calm but expectant. "Yes," Lila whispered, though it felt more like a plea for escape than a declaration of readiness. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, the cold river water lapping at her ankles. The dragon woman's hand brushed against hers, sending a jolt through her body. Just as she was about to leap into the unknown, the portal began to ripple and distort, casting long shadows that seemed to dance on the ground. "Go now," the dragon woman urged, her voice sharp and urgent. "It will take you home." Lila hesitated one last moment, then leaped into the shimmering light of the portal. The world around her dissolved in a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes, every nerve ending firing with raw sensation. As she emerged on the other side, blinking against the sudden brightness of daylight, she found herself standing on familiar ground, her hometown, bustling and alive despite the lingering fear of what she had just escaped. She turned to where the dragon woman should have been, but only saw the river, undisturbed by any magical presence. Lila's heart thumped wildly as she realized she was alone now, the impossible encounter behind her. But with it came a new kind of dread. What did this mean for her world? And more importantly, what could she do to protect it from whatever forces the dragon had spoken of? For a moment, she felt the weight of the unknown pressing down upon her, but then she straightened her shoulders and took a deep breath. She was safe now, but her journey was far from over. The forest and its mysteries waited, and with them, perhaps her next challenge. Lila's gaze swept across the familiar sights of her town as she wondered what fate had in store for her next. Her eyes lingered momentarily on the bustling market square, where vendors called out their wares with a cheer she couldn't help but admire. Beyond that, the old library stood tall and proud, its vast collection of books whispering secrets to those who dared to enter. Lila had always felt drawn to this place, as if the walls held more than just knowledge. They cradled stories waiting to be discovered. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the cobblestone streets, Lila found herself standing outside her childhood home. The house was smaller now, but somehow even more charming, as if it had grown fond of her despite her frequent absence. She could almost hear the laughter and chatter that used to fill the air inside its walls, though the silence was what spoke loudest to her now. Inside, Lila's room was much as she left it, a testament to her mother's careful preservation of her belongings. Books lined one wall, and sketches filled another. Each piece of art told a part of her journey. Sitting on her bed, Lila traced the contours of her favorite sketch, a simple portrait of the night sky over the town, its stars twinkling in a way that felt both familiar and far away. Hours slipped by as she read through old journals and letters she had kept from her travels, each page a window into another world. Yet, amidst the nostalgia, there was an undercurrent of unease. The future, with all its possibilities and uncertainties, loomed large in her thoughts. She couldn't shake the feeling that something significant awaited her, though the nature of this something remained elusive. Just as the stars began to appear outside her window, a soft knock sounded at the door. Heart pounding, Lila wondered who it could be at such an hour. Perhaps someone from the past had returned to remind her of where she came from, or was it perhaps a harbinger of the future, sent to guide her steps? "Lila," her mother's voice, gentle and full of concern, broke through her contemplation. "Yes, Mom?" Lila called back, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. She made her way downstairs, meeting her mother in the kitchen, where she was preparing a late dinner. The sight was comforting, a reminder that while the world beyond changed swiftly, some things remained constant. As they ate by candlelight, Lila shared stories from her travels and listened to her mother's tales of what had happened since her departure. There were familiar anecdotes about neighbors and friends, along with new ones concerning changes in the town. Despite their different experiences, there was an unspoken understanding between them, a bond that had grown stronger even as they drifted apart geographically. After dinner, Lila helped clear the dishes, the rhythm of washing and drying plates providing a soothing backdrop to their conversation. Her mother spoke of her desire for Lila to settle back into town life, to explore the library's hidden corners once more, and perhaps find a place where she could contribute positively. Meanwhile, Lila confided in her mother about the lingering sense that her journey was far from over, that somewhere out there awaited challenges she hadn't even imagined. As they prepared for bed, Lila noticed her mother wiping away tears. It dawned on her then how much this visit meant to both of them. Though they lived in different worlds, they were still deeply connected by a web of memories and hopes. Before retiring to her room, Lila kissed her mother goodnight. In that moment, she felt the weight of her roots pulling at her heart. Yet, the stars beyond her window offered an alternative vision, their light dancing across the ceiling like promises of distant lands yet unexplored. That night, as sleep finally claimed her, Lila dreamed of both home and horizon visions that intertwined in a way that promised more than either could offer alone. In the morning light, she knew what she had to do next: embrace the familiarity of home while never losing sight of the infinite skies beckoning beyond. In the quiet sanctuary of her home, Lila found herself surrounded by the familiar trinkets and books that had always made the house feel like a refuge. Yet even as she took comfort in the routines of her morning coffee and the soft light filtering through the window, her mind raced with thoughts of the dragon woman Lila, who had become an unexpected companion on her journey. The weight of their shared experiences pressed against her chest like a heavy stone. Lila's fingers traced the edge of the old wooden table where she had once mapped out her travel plans alone. Now, those same maps held new marks and notations from Lila, detailing paths across alien territories. As Lila stared at them, a mix of dread and determination washed over her. She knew their next steps would lead them deeper into danger. The day brought more than just the usual routines. It was punctuated by urgent messages from her team back on Earth, who were growing increasingly concerned about her prolonged absence and her association with an alien dragon. Their worry felt like a cold wind against her resolve, but Alara was past the point of backing down. She had already learned that life aboard their world-defying ship, the Aetherwind, wasn't merely an adventure, it was a crucial mission. She decided to confront Lila about her true intentions directly. The dragon woman hadn't been forthcoming with all her motives from the start, and Alara felt it was time to understand more fully why they were taking such risks together. She found Lila in one of the ship's observation decks, where the starlit night sky provided a perfect backdrop for introspection. Lila, Alara began, hesitating just slightly before plunging into her questions. I need you to tell me what's really going on here. Why are we heading towards these specific planets? And why do I have this growing sense that something bigger is about to happen? Lila had turned from the view of distant stars to look at Alara with a piercing gaze, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. You're right, she conceded calmly. There are things I haven't shared, but what you must know now is this: we're heading towards the Nexus, the heart of the galaxy where countless threads of history and destiny converge. Threads of history, Alara repeated, her mind racing to piece together the implications. Like the fate of the universe could hang in the balance here? Yes, Lila confirmed, her voice laced with an undercurrent of urgency. But remember, what you know so far is only part of a much larger tapestry. We are both pieces in this puzzle, one that has been set into motion long before either of us existed. Alara felt her heart clench at the weight of those words. The idea of being a mere pawn in some cosmic game was terrifying, but the alternative, ignorance and paralysis, was even worse. Lila continued, our journey so far has prepared us for what lies ahead. You've proven your worth, Alara, by navigating through treacherous storms and forging alliances where there seemed to be none. That's why we must go on. Alara nodded slowly, absorbing the gravity of their situation. I can't just let this go, she said firmly. If you're holding back information, I need to know what it is and how it affects us. Lila sighed, a rare display of vulnerability from someone so powerful. There is an old prophecy about the Nexus. It speaks of a convergence of forces that could either seal the fate of existence or open new pathways into uncharted realms. And there are those who wish to see the old order upheld, forces that fear change. Alara's eyes narrowed with suspicion. So what about this dragon business? Lila looked at her squarely, a mixture of pride and sadness in her gaze. I am not just a dragon. I am also a protector, a guardian against those who would seek to exploit the Nexus for their own ends. And now, because of your actions, we stand together as allies. Alara's breath caught in her throat. It was a confirmation she hadn't dared hope for, but had always feared. She was more entangled in this than ever before, not just as a traveler seeking adventure, but as a key player in an ancient conflict. Over the next days, Alara and Lila honed their skills, preparing for the journey ahead with a sense of foreboding that grew increasingly palpable. They trained vigorously under Lila's guidance, learning to tap into powers they hadn't fully understood before. The air of anticipation was thick as the Aetherwind charted its course toward an unknown destiny. Because as they felt ready to face whatever lay ahead, a new twist emerged from the shadows. One night, during a routine patrol of the ship, Alara discovered a hidden message embedded in the console, a distress signal from an uncharted region of space. It was a plea for help, signed by someone using Lila's name. Panic surged through Alara as she realized the gravity of this revelation. If the message was genuine, it meant that there were others like Lila, part of her legacy, needing support against unseen threats. But if it was a trap set by those who wished to exploit or control them, it could be their downfall. Alara rushed to Lila's quarters, heart pounding with dread and anticipation. As she burst into the room, Lila sensed her urgency immediately. "What is it?" she asked, eyes narrowing in concern. "There's a message," Lila said urgently, showing Lila the encrypted transmission. "It seems someone is using your name." Lila's expression darkened as she read the message. "This is a dangerous development," she murmured, her fingers tracing over the characters thoughtfully. "It could be from my kin, or it could be a ruse by those who seek to manipulate us." Lila gripped Lila's arm tightly, her own fears coalescing into a tangible pressure. "We have to figure out who sent this and why. If we don't, we might miss something crucial, something that could change everything." Lila nodded grimly. "Then, we must be cautious. We need to track the signal's source to determine its authenticity." They worked late into the night, poring over data and analyzing signals from every possible angle. The tension between them crackled with an underlying current of urgency and mutual determination. Lila's reliance on Lila had deepened exponentially. Each revelation brought them closer together, but also drove home the stakes involved in this perilous mission. As they delved deeper into the mystery, their bond strengthened, forged from a shared commitment to uncovering the truth and safeguarding the fate of myriad worlds. Yet, the shadow of uncertainty loomed over their every move, casting doubt on even their most cherished alliances. The closer they came to unraveling the source of the message, the more Lila felt her world tilting on an axis of uncertainty and danger. She had always prided herself on her ability to navigate through challenges, but now she was facing something far beyond her initial comprehension. The truth about Lila's heritage and their mission's purpose threatened to tear apart everything they knew and believed. Their ship, the Aetherwind, continued its relentless journey towards the unknown, with Lila and Lila at the helm. As they pushed deeper into uncharted territory, the line between reality and myth began to blur, and the stakes for their survival became impossible to ignore. But it was not just physical dangers that threatened them. Emotional and moral quandaries loomed large. Lila's growing feelings for Lila, mix of admiration, affection, and a deep sense of kinship, complicated matters further. She realized she would have to confront her own limits and fears to fully embrace the mission. The air thickened with anticipation as they closed in on their destination. The Aetherwind neared a shimmering anomaly that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, drawing them closer to the heart of their predicament. Lila's mind raced with possibilities, each more daunting than the last. Lila stood beside her, a pillar of strength and mystery. "We are nearing the nexus," she said quietly, her voice resonating with a profound sense of purpose. "The answers we seek will be there." As they approached the anomaly, the reality of their situation hit Lila like a physical blow. This wasn't just another mission or adventure, it was a crucible that would test everything they held dear. The nexus awaited them, a convergence point where the threads of history and destiny interwove, and their fates hung in the balance. The revelation that Lila was not only a dragon, but also a guardian against those who sought to exploit the nexus threw Lila's entire worldview into question. As they prepared for the final push towards the heart of this cosmic mystery, she grappled with the weight of responsibility and the blinding intensity of choices yet to be made. Each step forward felt like walking a tightrope between worlds, each decision a leap of faith into the unknown. The tension between them reached its peak as the Aetherwind closed in on the nexus anomaly. Lila's heart pounded with the realization that they were about to step into the very heart of the mystery and the very heart of danger. The ship suddenly jolted as it entered the anomaly, and everything around them blurred into a kaleidoscope of light and color. Lila felt the familiar tug of gravity and space warping around them as they hurtled towards the nexus. She clung to Lila's strength, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. But as the Aetherwind emerged from the anomaly, reality shattered in a way none of them could have anticipated. They found themselves not just at the heart of the galaxy, but also in a realm where time and space seemed to be non-existent. The air shimmered with an ethereal quality, and shadows moved like tendrils, as if whispering secrets in the wind. Illyra's breath caught in her throat as she looked around, seeing figures that were both familiar and strange. Lila has stood beside her, a figure shrouded in mystery yet radiating an inexplicable warmth and strength. "This, Lila," it said softly, "is the heart of the galaxy where past and future meet." Illyra's eyes widened as she processed this new reality, her mind reeling from the implications. The Nexus wasn't just a point of convergence, it was a gateway to realms beyond their understanding, a place where the boundaries between myth and reality blurred. As they navigated through the strange dimension, Lila felt a deep sense of vertigo and wonder. She had always been drawn to the unknown, but now she was faced with a mystery so vast and complex that it seemed impossible to fathom. Each step they took led them deeper into an intricate web of secrets, each revelation pulling them further into a cosmic dance of destiny. Lyria's voice broke through Illyra's reverie. "We are not just travelers here," she said, her tone both solemn and commanding. "We are catalysts in the great tapestry of fate." Lila nodded, feeling the weight of this truth settle upon her shoulders. She had always believed that her actions mattered, but now it was clear that they could have profound ramifications across time and space. As they moved deeper into this realm, the Aetherwind seemed to adapt to its surroundings, shifting and morphing in ways that defied explanation. The ship's crew, who had remained loyal and steadfast throughout their journey, watched in awe as Lila and Lila ventured forth, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything. Illyra's heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. This was the culmination of all their efforts, everything she had sacrificed and risked. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but it was also filled with an indescribable beauty and wonder. They approached a central structure at the heart of the Nexus, a monumental edifice that seemed to be the nexus of all timelines and realities. As they drew closer, Lila could feel the threads of history unraveling around them, each one tingling against her skin like 1,000 whispers. Lyria's eyes glowed brighter, as if reflecting the essence of the place itself. "This is where the ancient guardians converge," she explained, her voice full of reverence and foreboding. "We must be careful. The forces here are both benevolent and malevolent." Lila nodded, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. As they entered the structure, the air around them seemed to thicken with an inexplicable energy. Shadows danced at the edges of their vision, as if watching and waiting. Inside, the structure was a labyrinth of chambers and corridors, each one leading to a different timeline and reality. Illyra's mind struggled to comprehend the scope of what they were encountering, but she felt a deep sense of purpose guiding her forward. As they moved deeper into the heart of the Nexus, Lila and Lila encountered figures from countless timelines, guardians, heroes, and villains who had shaped the fabric of existence in ways both grand and subtle. Each encounter left them with a new piece of the puzzle, but also deepened the sense of responsibility weighing upon them. Illyra's heart swelled with a mix of awe and trepidation as she realized the far-reaching impact of their actions. The decisions they made here could ripple through countless worlds, influencing the course of history in ways they could never fully comprehend. Lyria's presence beside her was a constant source of strength and guidance. As they navigated through this surreal landscape, Lyria's wisdom and resolve were an unwavering light in the darkness. Lila felt a deep sense of connection with her dragon companion, knowing that together they had the potential to shape not just their own destinies, but those of countless others. The deeper they ventured into the heart of the Nexus, the more Lila felt the weight of the legacy she carried. Each step forward was a step into a realm where the very nature of existence was in flux, and the choices they made would have consequences that transcended time itself. As they approached the central chamber, The air grew even thicker with an otherworldly energy. Shadows coalesced into figures that seemed to speak directly to Alera's mind, filling her with a sense of wonder and dread. This was the culmination of all their efforts, a place where the threads of fate intertwined, and where decisions were made that would shape the universe. Lyria's presence beside her was a beacon of clarity in the chaos. "We are here," she said softly, her voice resonating with an almost ethereal quality. "Time has come to choose our path." Alera nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. She looked around at the swirling vortexes of time and space surrounding them, knowing that this moment was both a challenge and an opportunity. They entered the central chamber, where the essence of the Nexus pulsed like a living thing. Threads of light and shadow interwove in patterns too complex to fully grasp, yet Alera felt a deep connection to them. This place held the secrets of the universe, but it also demanded a profound reckoning from its visitors. In the heart of this mystical realm, Lyra revealed her true nature, a guardian of not just one world but multiple realities. She stood beside Alera, a symbol of ancient wisdom and boundless power. "The choices you make here," she said, her voice ringing with authority, "will ripple through countless worlds." Alera's heart swelled with both fear and awe as she realized the magnitude of their situation. This wasn't just a mission, it was a pivotal moment in the tapestry of existence. As they stood facing the heart of the Nexus, Alera felt a surge of determination. She would face this challenge head on, armed with the knowledge and strength they had gained throughout their journey. The decision before them was not just a choice for themselves, but for countless others whose futures hinged on the outcome. The air thickened with an almost tangible energy as Alera made her choice, feeling Lyria's silent support beside her. As she stepped forward to confront the heart of the Nexus, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it with courage, resolve, and the unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of their journey. But as the moment approached for Alera to make her decision, a chilling voice cut through the stillness. A figure emerged from the shadows, its presence dark and foreboding. This was the true mastermind behind the challenges they had faced, an ancient entity with an agenda that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. "Welcome, travelers," the figure said, its voice cold and calculating. "You have come to the heart of the Nexus, but know this: your choices here will be meaningless if you fall into my trap." Alera's heart clenched as she realized the depth of their peril. This wasn't just a challenge, it was a test of their very essence of trust, courage, and the wisdom they had gained through their journey. The entity's presence cast a shadow over everything they had accomplished, turning their triumphs into potential failures. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes blazing with defiance. "We are not your pawns," she declared firmly, "and we will not be swayed by your false promises." The entity's form shifted and twisted, its dark tendrils reaching out as if to ensnare them in a web of deceit. Alera felt the weight of their mission pressing down upon her, knowing that they had to navigate this final challenge with unwavering resolve. "Your journey is far from over," the entity hissed, "and your efforts mean nothing if you cannot see through the illusions I present." Lyria's hand found Alera's, their bond a beacon of light and strength in the darkness. They stood together, facing not just this final obstacle, but the culmination of all their trials. As they prepared to confront the entity head on, Alera realized that this moment encapsulated everything they had fought for. It was the ultimate test, a challenge not just of skill and courage, but of heart and spirit. With Lyra by her side, Alera stepped forward into the heart of the Nexus, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The journey they had undertaken had been fraught with danger and mystery, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond between them. They stood together now, poised on the brink of a destiny that would shape countless worlds. The moment of truth approached, and Alera knew that whatever came next, she and Lyra would face it with courage, determination, and an unshakable resolve to protect the fate of the universe. Lila and Lila stood at the edge of the portal, the threshold that would lead them into the heart of the storm. The swirling vortex was a tempest of colors and energies, a chaotic maelstrom that promised more than just danger. It whispered of transformation and the unknown. "Are you ready?" Lila's voice trembled slightly, despite her outward calm. She felt Lilia's gaze on her, searching, understanding. It was a question neither needed to answer. They had walked this path together from the start. Lila nodded, her eyes glinting with a fierce determination that mirrored Lila's own. "Let's do this," she said simply, her voice steady. The portal flared brighter, and Lila took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached for Lilia's hand, their fingers intertwining tightly, as if they were the only anchor keeping them both grounded. With a shared glance, they stepped forward into the unknown, vanishing into the swirling colors of the portal. The transition was dizzying, a kaleidoscope of sensations assaulting their senses. Time seemed to stretch and compress in equal measure, each moment feeling both eternal and fleeting. As the dizziness faded, Lila found herself on what appeared to be a barren plane of existence. The sky above her swirled with dark clouds that pulsed with an eerie light. Lilia's hand remained firmly in hers, their connection unwavering. "We need to find the source," Lila said, her voice clear and resolute. "Agreed, Lila," her replied, her eyes scanning their surroundings with a sharp intelligence. "But we must be cautious. This place is alive with an energy that can shift at any moment." They moved forward cautiously, each step deliberate and calculated. The air buzzed with a presence, heavy and oppressive. It was as if the very fabric of reality was strained, about to break. As they ventured deeper into this alien realm, Lila felt Lilia's grip tighten slightly, a subtle signal that she too sensed the growing tension. "Close your mind," Lila whispered, knowing that protecting their thoughts could be just as crucial as physical defenses in this environment. Lila nodded, her breath becoming shallow and controlled. She knew they were approaching something significant, something that would test every ounce of their resolve. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted, and a massive crack opened up, revealing what appeared to be an ancient chamber at the heart of the storm. The air was thick with magic and power, and as they stepped into the chamber, Lila felt Lilia's hand tremble slightly in hers. In the center of the chamber stood a crystalline structure, pulsing with light that seemed to radiate from within, a beacon of energy. It was here, at this nexus, that the fate of their universe lay. "Go forward," Lila said gently, squeezing Lilia's hand. "It'll be right beside you." Lila took a step closer to the crystal, her eyes narrowing as she studied it. The air around them shimmered, and for a moment, the chamber seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a low hum, the crystal began to glow more brightly. "I don't think we can simply take this, Lila," he said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "There's something else at play here." Lila nodded, sensing the same thing. This was not a simple act of retrieval. It required understanding and respect for the power they were dealing with. As they stood there, pondering their next move, the ground beneath them began to shake violently. The crystal pulsed, and a voice ancient and resonant spoke directly into their minds. "Mortals, you seek the balance of energies that has been lost to time. But this power is not yours to claim lightly." Lila's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding. "Seeking to us," she whispered. Lilia's grip tightened as they both felt the raw force of the voice's presence. "We need to understand," she said firmly. "We can't let this go unresolved. You seek to undo a wrong long ago committed. Balance must be restored, but it cannot be done by mere mortals alone." The chamber seemed to grow smaller, the air thicker, as Lila and Lila listened. The weight of what they were being asked to do settled heavily on them. "We can't just give up," Lila said, her voice resolute. "We've come this far. You are brave and wise, but your resolve must be tempered with understanding." Lila nodded, her eyes intense. "We need to find a way to understand this power. We can't just walk away. A price must be paid for such knowledge." The voice and tone. "It is not for the faint of heart." Lila and Lila had exchanged a look, both knowing what the other was thinking. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready. "We understand the risks," Lila said softly, "and we are willing to face them." The voice paused, as if considering their words. "Very well, take a step closer." They did so, their hearts pounding in unison. As they approached the crystal, it began to hum louder, and a beam of light shot out towards them, enveloping their hands still entwined together. In that moment, Lila felt a surge of power flow through her, and she knew they were being imbued with knowledge and understanding far beyond anything they had ever known. Lila's eyes widened as she felt the same energy coursing through her. The light dimmed, and the chamber seemed to expand once more, the oppressive presence lifting slightly. The voice spoke again, softer this time. "Balance has been restored in part, but much remains undone. We will finish what needs to be done," Lila said firmly, feeling a newfound sense of determination. "You have my blessing and protection. Return now, and may your path be clear." The crystal pulsed once more, and the portal they had come through began to glow. Lila turned to Lila, her eyes full of emotion. "We did it," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. Lila's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she nodded. "We did." As the portal flared brighter, pulling them back towards their own universe, Lila could feel the weight of what they had accomplished, and yet also the immense responsibility that lay ahead. The journey was far from over, but for now, they had a moment to breathe, a moment of triumph and resolution. The portal snapped closed behind them, leaving the chamber in darkness. Lila and Lila stood side by side, their hands still entwined, looking at each other with a shared sense of awe and wonder. "Thank you," Lila said softly, her voice choked with emotion. Lila's eyes met hers, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. They were more than allies now, they were something deeper, a bond forged in the crucible of challenge and adversity. Lila's hand tightened around Lila's, her thumb brushing over the back of Lila's hand in a gentle caress. "Always," she whispered, her breath warm against Lila's skin. With that, they turned and walked forward together, stepping into the light of what lay ahead, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, side by side. The moment passed, but their connection lingered. The final line was short yet powerful. Side by side. It was a silent agreement, a bond formed in the face of adversity, a declaration that they would not falter, no matter what. Arya and Kale's eyes met for a brief moment before they turned their attention back to the approaching horde. The line they had drawn might have been physical, but the one they were truly standing on was one of resolve. As the night deepened, so did the shadows that surrounded them. Each step of their attackers seemed to carry an ominous weight, as if every footfall was a reminder of the stakes at play. Yet, amidst the looming threat, Arya had found a strange sense of clarity. This wasn't just about survival for her anymore, it was about proving something to herself, to Kale, and to the world beyond the walls of their sanctuary. Kale, on the other hand, felt a surge of pride. Here they were, two outcasts, one an elite warrior with a troubled past, and the other a healer with a reputation for running from battles. Together, they had become more than the sum of their individual parts. They were not just fighting against the shadows, they were forging a light that could withstand them. The air was thick with tension, but in those moments of stillness, there was also a profound sense of companionship. Their breath mingled in the cool night air, each exhale creating a momentary fog that seemed to encapsulate their unity. The physical exertion and mental strain were immense, yet there was an unspoken understanding between them that they would push through it all. Around them, others had also begun to fortify their positions, some with weapons drawn, others forcing barricades made of logs and stones. The preparations weren't just against the immediate threat but for the long, arduous fight that lay ahead. There was a quiet confidence in the way each individual took up their position, confident not in themselves alone, but in the collective strength they had built. As the first wave of attackers approached, Ari and Kale did not hesitate. They moved in unison, their movements synchronized as if choreographed by an unseen hand. Each strike, parry, and block was a testament to their shared understanding and mutual respect. It was clear that the training sessions they had endured were paying off. They flowed seamlessly into each other's patterns, anticipating the next move before it happened. Yet it wasn't just their physical prowess that held the line. There was an emotional fortitude that shone through their actions. They fought not just with weapons, but with heart and soul, pouring every ounce of their being into keeping their sanctuary safe. There were moments when one would falter, a momentary pause in their breathing, or a flicker of hesitation in their eyes. But the other was there, providing the strength to push forward. As dawn began to break over the horizon, the intensity of the battle started to wane. The night had been long and brutal, leaving both Ari and Kale weary, yet unbowed. In that brief respite, there was an exchange of words that went beyond mere encouragement. It was a reaffirmation of their partnership. "We're in this together, Ari," he said, her voice raw from the exertion but steady in its conviction. Kale nodded, his eyes locking onto hers with unwavering resolve. Until the end, the simplicity of their declaration carried a weight that was almost tangible. It wasn't just about surviving another day. It was about enduring until they could reclaim their lives on their own terms. The line they had drawn was more than physical. It was a boundary against despair, a commitment to hope in the face of overwhelming odds. As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows that stretched out behind them, Ari and Kale continued to stand their ground, ready for whatever challenges the day would bring. But in that moment, as they shared a look of mutual determination, it was clear that no matter what lay ahead, they would face it side by side, drawing strength from each other until the very end.